I think that there's this thing we call spheres or challenge zones. Lots of people have heard the term comfort zone, and I think that that is another right thing that maybe gets misused occasionally. There was, I think it was an Outward Bound commercial in the 60s that showed a kid about to rappel off a cliff, and
Okay.
it was the kid was struggling, like crying, like, no, I don't want to do it. And then it panned back to an instructor who then just kicked the kid off the cliff, looked at camera and said, we push your kids to success. So I think that that was the comfort zone thing, was sort of from that world. It's like, in order to get moments of growth or change the dynamics, I have to push you into something. So people will say like, oh, I'm going to push you out of your comfort zone. It's like, yeah, don't push anyone out of their comfort zone. It doesn't typically go the way you hope it would. But we have this comfort zone model. It's like a circle in the middle. That's our comfort zone. Comfort I describe as where you are at the most relaxed and comfortable you could imagine. So for me, it's like a cup of tea, sitting on my bed, reading a book. Like I'm like immersed in that world. Like I'm pure relaxation. What can we learn from that? We can learn that that's a safe space, and that's not a bad thing to learn about. The next zone is what we call this, like, and it's a bit of a spectrum to it, is called that stretch zone, otherwise known as the challenge zone. And that's where majority of our learning occurs. And it's a spectrum. The closer you to your comfort you are, the less you'll learn, but the more comfortable the experience is. The further away from comfort you go, the more you might learn, but the less comfortable it is. And that kind of makes sense for experience. The problem, though, is there's an outside circle, which has no spectrum, and we call that the panic zone. The only thing that you learn when you panic is, hell no, I don't want to do it again. And we've all been in situations. You can all resonate with the idea of what panic might feel like. That's the butterflies in the stomach. That's feeling nauseous. That's the sweating. That's the red face. That's the hand shaking, eyes wide. There's so much physiology that goes into panic. That's where we don't, as adventure educators or experiential educators, that's where we don't want to bring our students. And I think that can be the mistake that I see when people start out. You just go too far too hard. You're like, oh, I'm going to do this really cool thing. And then you realize that half of your participants don't want to do that or are terrified. And what did you learn from that? It's the Spider-Man quote of, with great power comes great responsibility. And I think that that's, in our world, is a big deal, because we can have such positive impact, but we can have the converse of that. We can have terrible impact if we just bring them too close too quick. And so the way that we teach it is always through guidance of, how do we get to real struggle? How do we get to that moment where we really struggle? And then how can we empower our students to be able to say no and actively say, I don't want to do this anymore because I'm starting to feel panicked. I often call the heights like the great equalizer, because it doesn't matter really, like the physicality sometimes for some people works good. The emotional side is hard for others. We have the benefit, the organization I work for, we work with National Hockey League teams. So I was fortunate to work with I've worked with the Bruins and the Devils and the Flames, Calgary Flames and stuff. And when we bring them out to our course, you'd see these giant human beings and you think like, oh, they'll master everything.
They're gonna crush it.
It's they are so scared. And it's like, it's very entertaining to watch, but it's also a great humbling moment. That's partly as why we do it with those particular participants, and it's valuable to them because they don't have much of that in their life where they're really like pushed in a way that scares them anymore.
That's super interesting. Wow. Even for pro athletes, right? Playing on the world stage. How about that?